Iceland? More like Niceland. You might be wondering, Blake, what have you been up to this summer? Well, let me tell you. Along with a full semester's worth of classes and an internship, I got to go on a study abroad to Iceland. Blake, you had an internship in Iceland? How'd you do that? Separate things, but whatever. Back to Iceland. So starting off this summer, I got on a connecting flight from GTR in Columbus to Atlanta. And from there, I got on another flight from Atlanta to New York. And once I got to New York, I got to meet all the other students on this study abroad trip, none of which I've ever met before. And as I'm boarding the plane to get to Iceland, it turns out one of my travel documents doesn't have the right certification on it. So instead, they detained me for a good 24 hours. And to which I find a pin on the floor of the airport, which I just fill in the missing information, and boom, on a flight to Iceland the next day. Flight to Iceland was really cool. I had about a 3-hour night that night, so I got zero sleep. But as I landed in Iceland, I was picked up by my teachers, started making my way to Reykjavik, which is the capital city of Iceland, which was then greeted by my fellow classmates who cheered me as I reigned victorious over the JFK airport security team like a true champion. Some of the first things we got to do while visiting the city of Reykjavik was I got to experience my first European soccer game, which European soccer is way more hype than American football. I felt like I was part of the team just being in the crowd. The second thing we got to do in Iceland is go visit a famous museum called the Perlin Museum, which is known for some of its exhibits like the Ice Cave and the Aurora Lights showroom and more stuff like that. And one of the last things we got to do notably in this city was go visit a Viking church, which I didn't know existed, which was around 74.5 meters tall, or, 244 feet to you born here in America. So Iceland is known for its many volcanoes, and one of the newest volcanoes in the world has just started erupting there, and it's been erupting pretty regularly every 5 to 10 minutes or so for the last 2 to 3 months. And luckily, when we get there, we're able to hike it, and we get to hike the volcano twice. The first time was a nice leisurely 3-mile hike one way up a mountain, just straight up the volcano while it's erupting. The second time was exactly the same, except for hurricane-style winds in the middle of the night and gusts upwards of 70 miles an hour, trying to push us off this mountain. Needless to say, I like the first hike a little bit better, but getting to see this volcano erupt, being a Louisiana-born, living in Mississippi guy, I think watching this volcano was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. But we did get to meet some of the locals up there on the volcano, which they showed us pictures of the volcano months before, where while the volcano was erupting, the northern lights were just there, right above it. So what I thought was amazing turned out to be not as cool as what everybody else saw. So it's still pretty cool though. Anyway, the more general activities that we did on the island was we drove around the entire island of Iceland in the span of about 2.5 weeks, which the island of Iceland is smaller in landmass to the state of Mississippi, so it was a pretty small island. We hiked up waterfalls, mountains, trails. We got to see movie sets where they filmed movies such as Star Wars Rogue One. They filmed some Game of Thrones episodes there. And we even saw a canyon where they filmed a Justin Bieber music video. One of my favorite things to do in Iceland was we got to see a lot of the wildlife. We got to see stuff like puffin, we got to see some whales, and we got to see a certain breed of horse, the Icelandic horse, which is the only horse breed on the island that's allowed. Other than the wildlife we got to see, of the wildlife we got to eat, we ate puffin, whale, and horse, which, to be honest, horse was my favorite. Honestly, I don't get why we hate eating horse here in the United States. It tasted like delicious filet mignon. We also got to see reindeer, Arctic foxes, and we also ate shark. But those two didn't interlap with the Venn diagram of C and E. Iceland was overall a really enjoyable trip. There wasn't a single second on the whole trip that I didn't enjoy. Every minute was filled with memories and laughter and just moments that I'm going to cherish forever. But if there's one thing I was disappointed about with Iceland was before we went on the trip, we were supposed to watch a movie called Eurovision Song Contest, The Fire Saga Story, starring Will Smith and Rachel McAdams. And in this movie, they play a song at the end of the movie called Ya Ya Ding Dong, where they're in a restaurant, they're singing the song, everybody's happy, they're all cheering, they're having a blast. And the movie takes place down in this town called Husavik. So we go visit Husavik looking for this restaurant. And it turns out where they filmed the scene of them singing the song Ya Ya Ding Dong, it turns out it was just a research center on the coast. And I was really, really sad about that. I've never been so heartbroken in my life. But the trip was overall one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. I've made many friends that I'm gonna cherish forever. I have memories that I'm always gonna look back upon with joy and laughter. One last thing before I end this video, I want to share my favorite memory from the trip. So one day we were driving and we stopped at this black sand beach, and once we get to the beach, there's a bunch of stones with a sign saying these stones are meant to be lifted, that back in the day Vikings would lift these stones to prove their strength. And obviously I wanted to lift these stones because so I pick up the stone, that's the medium one, I think it's around 120 pounds. So I pick it up, lift it to my waist, and our Icelandic bus driver said, no, the Vikings would lift it above their head to prove their strength. You got to do the same thing. So as I lift it up, I lift it above my head, and then I just drop it. And I know I just said it was one of my favorite memories, but the more I think about that, the less I remember it. So now I'm just really going off the stories of what other people told me. Now that I think about it, the more I try and think of anything, the less I remember it.